Hello, this is Elaine with Antelope Beads, and today I'm going to discuss some of the fine points of crimping. This is the technique that we use for finishing jewelry that's strung on beading wire. I have a bracelet here that's been strung on 0.019 inch diameter soft flex, and I have two bead stoppers on it so it doesn't fall apart on me while I'm trying to work with it. I also have two tools I'll be using, crimping pliers and flush cutters. And then I have a series of findings up here. I have a tiara cast toggle clasp. I have two crimp tubes, two wire guards, and two crimp covers. So let's get started. First thing that I'll do is take the bead stopper off one side. I'm going to string on a crimp tube. And then I'm going to string on the wire guardian. This is a relatively new component. It's got a tube up one side, a loop around the top, and then a tube coming back down. So I'll string it on, come up around the loop, and then string it back down the other side. And then I will put on the bar of the toggle clasp. I'm going to put the bar on first because it'll allow me to check and make sure the bar is going to fit through the ring okay when we get to the other side. Sometimes if I'm using bigger beads towards the end of my bracelet, that may keep the bar from working properly, so we'll check and make sure that's not a problem. And then I'm going to squeeze the wire guardian together, and then I will run back through the crimp bead. And now I'm ready to crimp. I want to take just a second and look at the crimping pliers. When I close them, you notice there's two compartments. The back one has a little dimple in it, and the front one is just a plain oval. So I'm going to, first of all, hold the two wires apart as I crimp. This is going to do two things. One is it's going to keep that crimp tube snugged up against the wire guardian, and secondly, it's going to keep the wires apart so they don't slide inside of the tube and cause my crimp to fail. So I will set the back part of the crimping pliers right over that crimp tube, and you notice that I can't even see the crimp tube when I look down on top of the pliers. That's because the crimping pliers are exactly as wide as the tube. I will squeeze, and then I'm going to turn it at a 90-degree angle and stand it up in the oval part, and I've got a crimp tube that is firmly crimped, and I'm going to do the tug test to make sure nothing's going to slip. Now the other nice thing about this wire guard is it makes a hard loop around the clasp, and it really is going to protect the wire. It's just a really nice way to make sure that your bracelet is going to hold up for years to come. Then I'll take my flush cutters, and I'm going to use the flat part of the pliers right up against the crimp tube and snip it off. And so we've got one side almost done. We just want to add our crimp cover. I'm going to set that over the crimp, and I'm pushing up from the bottom to hold it in place. And then I'll use the front part of my pliers to gently fold that crimp cover over the crimp, and I'll just work it a little bit from side to side until it's pretty well closed, and now it really just looks like a bead. Really nice finish. So now we're going to go ahead and turn our attention to the other side, but before I do that, I just want to check. So I've slid my beads up towards the clasp. I just want to check and make sure that ring is going to go through the clasp okay. That's going to be perfect, and so I'm ready to start crimping the other side. Going to repeat the process on this side. I'll put the crimp bead on. I'm going to string the wire guard on. I'm going to put the ring of the clasp on. Make sure it's sitting inside of the wire guardian. Again, I'm going to pinch that wire guardian shut, and then I'm going to go back through the crimp tube. Now, I'm going to take most of the slack out on this side, but I do want to leave some. First of all, as the bracelet turns around, it's going to use up some of the slack. And secondly, even the crimp cover is going to take up a couple millimeters of slack. So really I'm leaving close to 4 millimeters of slack in when I'm getting ready to crimp here. So repeat the process. I'm going to hold the wires apart, set the crimp tube in the back compartment, squeeze. I've got a nice little dimple there. Stand it up in the front part, roll it over, do my tug test, snip off the tail, put that crimp cover on. Again, I'll use the front part of the crimping pliers to gently squeeze that closed and work it around a little bit until it takes just a minute sometimes to do that. There we go. And I have a professionally finished bracelet that is going to last for many, many years. Please see antelopebeads.com for more videos and to look at some of our great products. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch today.